Let's start with our first news. Ilya fired back at Justin Gaethje on UFC Embedded today after addressing comments Justin made about his divorce. If you missed it last week, Justin called Ilya a whiny little and said he would leave him too. Ilya responded by flipping him off and saying, "Take this. Justin, take it." He then said he once thought Justin was a great guy, but after crossing a personal line, he no longer has respect for him. He added that neither he nor his team will show respect anymore. Ilya then warned that all he needs is 2 minutes inside the octagon with Justin, and he will put him to sleep in front of his whole family, his country, and everyone watching. The statement was delivered with extreme confidence and intensity, showing that the rivalry has escalated far beyond simple trash talk. Fans reacted strongly to the exchange, with many calling it one of the most personal moments of the week in combat sports. Ilya made it clear that there is no turning back after the comments about his private life. He emphasized that respect in his eyes has been completely lost, and that if they ever meet inside the cage, the outcome will be decisive and violent. Justin also remains confident, despite the warning, and continues to stand by his previous remarks. The situation has now become one of the most talked about storylines in the division. Both fighters appear ready for a potential clash that could settle the tension once and for all, leaving fans waiting for what comes next in this heated rivalry between Ilya and Justin Gaethje. The anticipation continues to grow as fans expect official fight news soon from both sides. Move on to another news. Speaking to media today, Alex made it clear that he is refusing to wait around for Tom Aspinall, sending a direct message about his future plans inside the division. According to Alex, he does not believe Tom will be ready anytime soon, and he even questioned whether Tom is fully back in training or preparing for a return at all. He suggested that the situation around Tom's availability is uncertain and that he cannot afford to delay his own career while waiting for answers that may never come. Alex emphasized that his mindset is focused on staying active and competing as soon as possible. He stated that he wants a fight immediately, with no long breaks or extended negotiations slowing him down. In his words, he is not interested in sitting on the sidelines while others figure out their schedules. The urgency in his tone reflected a fighter who feels time is becoming a major factor in his career decisions. He also pointed out his age, saying he is 38 years old and does not have any time to waste at this stage of his journey. That reality, according to Alex, is pushing him to stay active and take whatever opportunity comes next without hesitation. He made it clear that waiting for perfect timing or ideal matchups is no longer an option for him. Instead, his focus is on constant activity and staying in competition mode. Throughout the interview, Alex repeatedly stressed that he needs to fight, not later, but now. He rejected the idea of delays or long recovery timelines dictating his schedule, insisting that momentum is everything at this point in his career. The message was direct, sharp, and delivered with confidence, showing that he is ready to move forward regardless of who is available on the roster. The comments have added further tension to the ongoing discussions in the division, as fans continue to debate what his next move should be and whether a potential clash with Tom will ever materialize. For now, Alex appears fully committed to staying active and forcing the division to respond to his urgency rather than waiting on uncertain timelines. Move on to another news. Speaking about his 5-round war with Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje revealed why he didn't submit him AFC 324. He confessed that during the fight, had deliberately ignored a potential fight-ending submission just so he could continue inflicting damage and keep the pressure on his opponent throughout the contest. Back at UFC 324 in January, Justin Gaethje claimed the interim lightweight title after dragging the Scouser through an absolute bloodbath to unanimous decision. Reflecting on the moments where he had Paddy trapped in a brutal front headlock position, admitted that the Darce choke was completely open and available and that he could have finished the fight right there but chose not to take it. Instead, he said he could have surprised the world with rare submission victory, but his intention was clear. He wanted to keep punching and continued imagining his opponent rather than going for the quick finish. He explained that in that moment he was happy with his performance, but also admitted that looking back, he wishes he had taken the Darce choke when he had the front adlock posit, especially around the 4th round when Paddy was visibly exhausted and running one empty. He made it clear that the submission was therefore the taking, but had prioritized punishment over efficiency and chose violence over a clean finish, stating that he simply wanted to keep punching Paddy Pimblett in the face repeatedly until the final bell ended the contest. And that mindset defined his approach throughout the entire fight, showing his willingness to embrace damage and intensity over technical restraint, while still securing a dominant, unanimous deck. In Victory, the interview highlighted Justin Gaethje's brutal honesty about his mindset inside the octagon, where he openly admitted that winning by submission would have been possible, but not aligned with what he wanted in that specific moment of the fight. He emphasized that he was fully aware of the danger and the opportunity, yet chose to prioritize pressure striking and continuous offense over securing the submission finish, even when it presented itself clearly in front of him. This revelation adds another layer to the already violent narrative of the bout, showing just how intentional his approach was from start to finish, making it one of the most talked about performances in recent memory, and pure fighting violence displayed here. Move on to another news. Arman may be facing serious trouble following a recent live stream appearance that has now sparked major debate across the MMA world. During a stream with Dean the Great, Arman allegedly placed a $1 million wager on Justin Gaethje to defeat Ilia Deoria in their upcoming clash this Saturday. If the claim is accurate, it could potentially put him in direct violation of UFC gambling regulations and trigger serious consequences from the promotion. The moment unfolded during a casual conversation where the idea of betting started off small before quickly escalating into something much bigger. Arman was first suggested to place around $50K, but the tone of the stream shifted as the group pushed for higher stakes. The discussion became more intense, with encouragement coming from others to go big and make a real statement with the wager. Eventually, the number 1 million was thrown out, and Arman appeared to engage with the idea in a joking yet confident manner. Throughout the stream, he was heard reacting to the proposal, asking how much and responding with surprise as the figure grew. At one point, the energy in the room became chaotic, with laughter and disbelief as the bet size was mentioned repeatedly. The conversation even touched on financial limits and calling people to arrange the amount, adding to the seriousness of what was being discussed on stream. Since 2022, the UFC has enforced a strict policy that prohibits fighters, coaches, and team personnel from betting on UFC fights under any circumstances. The organization, along with athletic commissions, maintains a zero-tolerance approach to any violations of these rules. If a fighter is found guilty of betting on bouts, the consequences can be severe, including immediate termination of UFC contracts, indefinite suspensions from competition, and in some cases, further investigations into fight integrity or potential fraud-related issues. As of now, neither the UFC nor Arman has released any official statement regarding the situation, leaving fans and analysts speculating about whether the wager was real or simply part of entertainment during the live stream. The lack of clarity has only added more attention to the clip as it continues to circulate online. In a separate update, Arman later posted a video of himself training while watching UFC White House promotional content, captioned with "No days off," showing that despite the controversy, he remains focused on preparation and staying active as discussions around the situation continue to develop. Move on to another news. The political situation around the UFC White House card has reportedly escalated further as Khamzat Chimaev and Islam Makhachev are now said to be effectively banned from the event alongside Sean Strickland. The report claims the decision comes from strict federal-level screening, with officials taking a far more cautious approach regarding who is allowed access to the high-security venue. According to the discussion, both Islam and Khamzat have been flagged due to their public political expressions, particularly their vocal support for Palestine and previous comments critical of Israel. These remarks were described as triggering concerns during the vetting process, placing them in the same category of scrutiny that led to Sean Strickland being excluded from the South Lawn event. The situation reflects how sensitive the selection process has become, with non-sporting factors now influencing eligibility for participation. In the case of Islam Makhachev, the concerns are tied mainly to his public stance and statements that have circulated widely online. For Khamzat Chimaev, however, the situation appears more complex. Reports suggest that beyond political commentary, additional security concerns were considered, including his past associations and high-profile connections within Chechen circles. While he has already dealt with repeated visa complications in the past before competing in the United States, sources claim that gaining clearance for a presidential venue is viewed as an entirely different level of approval, making his participation extremely unlikely. It has also been noted that the UFC White House event is already under heavy political and legal attention, with ongoing scrutiny and reported attempts from activists to challenge or even shut down the project entirely. Because of this environment, federal authorities are believed to be applying a zero-risk policy when it comes to guest approvals, leaving no room for controversial or high-profile risks. McLife reporter Oscar Willis discussed the matter on Submission Radio, suggesting that requests were made for Khamzat to attend, but were quickly denied after background checks and online statements were reviewed. He questioned whether the decision was purely political, security-driven, or a combination of both, highlighting how unclear the reasoning can appear from the outside. He also noted that certain controversial topics associated with fighters can heavily influence how authorities perceive their suitability for such a heavily protected event. The discussion concluded with uncertainty about whether the selection process is being shaped more by public image concerns or genuine security assessments, leaving the situation around the UFC White House card increasingly complicated as more fighters are reportedly affected by off-cage issues rather than sporting performance. Move on to another news. Ciryl Gane appears to have a game plan that he believes could unlock the biggest weakness in Alex Pereira. But the situation has already sparked a cold and confident response from Pereira himself. According to reports, Gane has brought in Artem Vakitov, the last man to defeat Pereira in kickboxing, to help prepare for their interim heavyweight title clash, aiming to use inside knowledge to crack the champion's style. The strategy has been described as a potential cheat code by some observers, given Vakitov's previous experience with Pereira in the striking world. However, Alex has completely dismissed the idea that old kickboxing footage or past results will have any real impact on their upcoming MMA fight. He argues that MMA is a completely different sport and that his overall game has evolved significantly since those early kickboxing days. Alex responded in a calm but confident manner, suggesting that even if Vakitov is honest in his assessment, the only real advice he could give Ciryl Gane is to be careful, because the power and danger he brings inside the cage are on another level. The champion made it clear that he is not concerned about external opinions or training influences, and believes his current form is far removed from anything shown in past fights. Meanwhile, new footage has reportedly surfaced showing Vakitov working closely with Gane behind closed doors, breaking down perceived flaws in Pereira's defense. Vakitov suggested that many fighters lose before the fight even begins due to mental pressure, claiming that Pereira can be made vulnerable if opponents pressure him aggressively from the start. He also stated that Alex may have defensive openings and that his chin could be exposed if forced into chaotic exchanges. According to him, Gane should apply constant forward pressure to disrupt Pereira's rhythm and force mistakes, predicting that Ciryl could potentially finish the fight early if the strategy is executed correctly. However, not everyone agrees with that assessment. Veteran coach Ray Longo gave his own breakdown of the matchup, leaning in favor of Alex Pereira. He emphasized that in close-range exchanges, Pereira's striking experience and power make him extremely dangerous, especially in a stand-up-focused fight. He also noted that wrestling is unlikely to be a major factor unless Pereira chooses to initiate it himself. Longo pointed out that Gane would likely need to rely on movement, speed, and technical striking to avoid getting drawn into exchanges where Pereira is most dangerous. He acknowledged that Pereira sometimes leaves openings, but also highlighted his ability to absorb damage and immediately return fire with even greater impact. Overall, Longo concluded that Pereira appears to be the tougher and more durable fighter, and ultimately picked him to win the matchup based on power, composure, and experience, transferring successfully into the heavyweight division. Move on to another news. During a recent live stream appearance with four-time world champion boxer Adrien Broner, hosted alongside Armansukian, a surprising story emerged involving Jon Jones and a reported verbal altercation in Vegas. Broner opened up about a past encounter, claiming that he recently had an intense exchange with a heavily intoxicated Jon Jones during a night out. According to Broner, the situation escalated verbally while Jon was under the influence, leading to a heated moment between the two. He described Jon as being extremely drunk at the time, saying he was cussing and speaking aggressively during the interaction. Broner admitted that the exchange was serious in tone, but also made it clear that he still holds respect for Jon Jones despite what happened that night. He went on to say that, under different circumstances, the situation could have gone in a completely different direction, but he chose to de-escalate because of who Jon is. Broner emphasized that he understands the difference between real conflict and intoxicated behavior, suggesting that he did not take the incident as a true personal issue. As the conversation continued, Broner and others on the stream discussed Jon Jones's fighting ability, with Broner acknowledging his greatness and elite skill inside the octagon. Despite the altercation, he made it clear that Jon is still one of the most dangerous fighters in combat sports history. The discussion then shifted into a more lighthearted exchange about fighting styles, physical advantages, and how situations like that could escalate if the individuals involved were not as composed. Broner joked about how things could have gone differently, but reiterated that Jon appeared heavily intoxicated and not in control of his behavior at the time. Further into the conversation, Broner reflected on his own ability to stay calm in tense situations, explaining that he often prefers de-escalation over confrontation. He described himself as someone with strong self-control, stating that he would rather avoid unnecessary conflict even when emotions are high. The group also discussed how dangerous situations can become when alcohol and ego are involved, especially among elite athletes with combat experience. Broner pointed out that even in heated moments, he tries to remain aware of consequences and maintain composure. In the end, the story was framed less as a serious rivalry and more as a chaotic night in Vegas that got out of hand verbally, with both respect and tension existing at the same time, before the conversation naturally moved on from the incident.